Perfect.
Okay, there we go.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in this world. I'm right here with Kieran. That's right.
Hell yeah. Good
So,
morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
so yeah, I'm here with Kieran. And Kieran, tell us about yourself. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And what you're doing right now?
So, as you know, my name's Kieran. Recently, I decided to take a leap of faith and start my own business. I used to work for a company called Foss Healthcare. They were care providers for around England. So I'm in the United Kingdom from the UK. And basically, they provide care all around the UK. And I was in an office, and every day, the office life, the office grind, just sitting there thinking, I'm sure there's more to this. There's a reason why we're here. I don't know what that is yet. I don't know my purpose, but I knew that it was bigger than just sitting in front of a computer, endlessly staring. I did payroll, so I was just staring at numbers all day. And I just thought I'd look outside every single day. There was a window to the left of me, and I just thought, there's got to be more to life than this. It's not just wake up, go do the same job every single day. We put our input in when we're in the 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, and then as soon as we leave, we forget about it. So to me, that has no fulfillment there. If
Mm.
I'm doing something that I'm forgetting about and leaving, then I don't know what that brings to me. But yeah, this is why we've ended up connecting together, is because I think there is a higher purpose, there's a higher plan at play, and it's navigating that. It's knowing that the universe has your best interests at heart. But for me, it was always just finding a way to be me and find my purpose. And I think that's why I decided to take that chance. But yeah, that's me really, and why we've come to this point in time, because I just think that life's got so much out there, and if you just give a little every now and again with a bit of insight, a bit of curiosity, a bit of mystery. If you just see life as this grand game almost, there's not that many rules, but there's a lot of places you can go, and the board is quite vast to play on. So yeah.
So, another question is like, will you always have that curiosity? Do you always have the curiosity to believe that there was more to life, or did it develop?
So for me, I think, and I'm assuming you do edit these sometimes before I say what I'm about to say, so you can cut things out and like chop
Oh
things
yeah,
up if you need to. All right, brilliant. Okay. Just in case you, depending on what like certain things to talk about. But for me, it came from psychedelic experience, I'll be honest.
yeah, me too.
So hell yeah. But yeah, that's where it came from me. I always knew that what we see is not necessarily what's there. I always knew that there must be something deeper. And I always felt that, and it resonated with me. And I think when I had experience with different psychedelics, it unlocked certain doors in the mind. So I think for me, I was about, I'd say, so I'm 27 this year. I think I was 17, first time I ever experienced anything like that through psychedelics, and I just thought, oh, this is images in the mind. This is just the brain telling you what it wants to see just because you're under the influence of something. But when I started to speak to different people, they all said they would see similar things. They would all feel similar things, and coming out of it, they would feel like there's something more. So that's where it came from for me.
Yeah, that's what happened to me too. Well, mine was very different because I was uh I was so stuck in my world. You know, when you're young, you're so naive and like you're kind of
Yeah.
like in a mental prison. Like you believe you know everything. Nothing could come in. Nothing could come in. Your bulletproof mindset. And when I did the psychedelics, I kind of unraveled all that mess, all that hairball, and made me see things straight. And I was like, wow, like there really is more to life. Life is not that deep. Like we overcomplicate it in our heads, and that's what like
Oh yeah.
because I did the psychedelics, but then I was doing the more and more and more, and I would just feel worse because I was trying to search for that first high, and that's what was messing me up. I don't know if you ever had that experience that it was just messing you up.
See, you're right there where it's like you're almost the initial, whenever you do anything in the beginning, and it's like anything, alcohol, whatever drugs people do out there, vaping, smoking, anything.
Hmm.
And I don't think it's just relevant to drugs, psychedelics, alcohol, different things. It can be relevant to everything in life because nothing when we do something for the first time hits the same again, if you know what I'm saying. So like you said, you're constantly chasing because the next time you have to up the dose, up the mileage, do this, do that, to then get back to the initial point of what you first felt. So that's why it's a rabbit hole and it's a road to go down. People can get lost on it. It either makes you or breaks you, I believe if you go down these roads because you're either going to find out a lot about yourself and about the world that you're not ready to face. So all you'll do is indulge more to try and forget then, or it opens you up like it has you, me, start asking questions, to start being like, well, what is the point then? And it's like you said, it's not that deep because we attach so many things to ourselves, labels, this, that. And this is actually something I wrote down, actually quite interested. Societal pressures. I think a lot of that comes from that because we're taught everything we know.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that. Everything we know, we're taught by someone else. Yet very little do we think about what we know to be true, to see, to feel, to experience. We're always going off what someone else has taught us. I don't know. Influence from the outside, I think, has a great impact on the way we are, the way we become, what we become, who we say we are, but different to who we are, if you know what I'm saying there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that's extremely important because and most of the time there's like a tug of war inside. Like we kind of know that what things are wrong, but we kind of just gotta go with it. Like with the society, oh, what they're gonna think about me. Oh, like, oh, I just gotta stay right. Like it's okay. Like that's why, like in the United States, I don't know about England. I'm so lost with over there, man. I got no idea, man. We feel like the United States is the center of the universe, man. But it's like here, if you're not blue, you're like you're evil, you know. So most of the time, people gotta claim that they're blue, but inside there's a tug of war saying, "Nah, you're red, you're red, you're red, you're conservative, you're in the middle." So like going back to what you're saying is also too like that that you can't be two people in one. Like the inside of you knows if you're lying, knows if you're being real. Like when somebody asks you a question, there's a little voice that tells you. It's like I don't know about you, but it's like a little movie gets played in your head, and you're like, "This is the truth. This is the real." But then you get to choose what you want to say, but it's up to you if you want to start living in a false reality of lies, which is so hard to live. Like once you start the first lie, you got to live your life all about lies, all about, and it's a mess. You got to keep up with all of them.
I think what's very true that what is hard to live, but I think they've designed it in such a way because I won't go into conspiracies and anything like that, but it's pretty obvious now and pretty well known that things aren't controlled the way we believe they are. Things are put in a place for a reason. Systems are put in
Mhm.
place for a reason to make us act a certain way. So it's like the left and the right. I always say this when it comes to politics. I'm not very big into politics. I take myself out of it and look at it from above, like a bird's eye view type view. And I think of it like this. Why is it called the left wing and the right wing? Because it's part of the same bird. So it's part of the same entity. No matter who gets in, no matter what side, what color, what religion, what race, whatever, because it all is influenced from outer people, different things, money, obviously. But it comes down to this. I think that whoever gets in that position in the political sphere, they all have the script wrote for them.
Mhm.
Whoever gets in, just say that script, and that's it. Whoever gets in, whoever it may be, is a mouthpiece for it. And I think that because of this, people attach themselves to all these identities now. So the right and the left. I mean, obviously in America, you've just gone through an absolute mad time, still going through a mad time. But I think like people disregard their own life to put it into something else that essentially doesn't exist when we really think about it. Because it's like you said, it can be hard to live in that space because we're like very confused about what's going on. We don't know who's telling the truth, who's this, who's that. All we know is that we're one side and we're against another. And that is the purpose of it, division. Because when we're divided, we don't come up with critical thinking, we don't come up with great ideas, we don't produce anything of value. All we do is go at another side purely because we've been given information from what we resonate with, apparently resonate with, because they said something that is maybe, I don't know, relevant to our lives. But I think it's also on the flip side of that, easy to live like that because ignorance is bliss. When you're ignorant to the world, you're ignorant to things that are going on, it's easy to just live like, well, this is how it is. I'm part of this side and that's part of that side. That's how it's always been. So this must be true. And when you live like that, you neglect your own problems, you neglect your own identity because you're not willing to find out who you truly are. I don't know if that's the same for you if in America, how you see that because you're in it. Over here, it's not as political. It's weird. The UK, obviously, we have the same, but it's nowhere near as in America. Like people go hard in America for one side or the other, and that's it. But over here, it's more like, yeah, we don't agree with what they say. We don't agree with what they say, but we like a bit of what they say, put them together, whatever. But I don't know. How is it for you over there in like that political sphere and how people lose their identity in that?
Yeah, it's very crazy because like the blue and the red, like here you have to be one. There is no like in the middle. You have if because if you're in the middle, you're on the red. Like, and then there's like let's say I go to university, like in the university
Crazy.
dominated by the blue. So I'm like, bruh, that makes no sense. Like there should be like equal, like and like that's just an everyday thing. Like if
Mm,
you're red or a blue, like that's what that's their identity. Like they're not human. Like they don't want to claim that. Like they're them. They just claim that they're the red, they're the blue. So it's very tricky. Like and like here you can't speak your mind. You can't really speak your mind because like they just come after you. But then what
mm,
what I do, I always question. I ask questions like, "Oh, why do you believe this? Why do you believe that?" And it's like they get to really analyze. They're like, "Damn, I never thought about it. I just accepted it and lived my life." And that's what we like most of people do.
yep.
They just accept these thoughts that have been given by the majority and never question it. Never question it. And then they live in a lie. And then they wake up 40, 50 years old, they snap out of it and they're like, damn, I wasted it.
Innit? What a waste. What a
And
waste. It's all gone. And I
yeah,
think, don't you think as well, because like, how old are you? Sorry.
I'm 22.
Ah, you're 22, so you're not that much younger than me. There's not
No.
a big difference between 22 and 26. There's not that much difference. I weren't doing anything crazy when I was four that you weren't doing when you were zero. But I think it's interesting, like how you just said that, like where you go for uni and people, it's so separated. But like you said, if you're in the middle, and I think in the middle is not in the middle is above. And I'm not saying it's above people, I'm saying it's above perspective. So you're looking at it from a different way. So I don't look at things from left and right because what they say, there's three sides to every story. There's the truth, no, there's their side, your side, and the truth. That's what they say. And I think that's what you're saying is right because people forget, wait, what's the truth then? We've got their side, we've got my side. But like you say, when you start asking why do you believe that? Most of the time it comes down to because they've been taught that, not because they've actually sat back for actually, I agree with this. This what you're saying is right. Because it's like save animals and stuff, go vegan and things and save animals. But when you step back, like you have big companies tell you, you have the celebrities, the politicians tell you, go green, do this, electric this, all this stuff. But the same companies that are doing that are the same companies that are selling you the opposite thing as well. So
Mhm.
it's like when you look at it from a perspective that's not inside it, you start to see that, oh wow, it's all just this one big game. And when you realize that, I believe like it's easier to navigate and easier to just be at peace because I think my philosophy is just simply exist. Just exist. Don't attach yourself to left and right and political. But I think where what you say on what you're saying as well is that especially young minds easily influenced. We have access to everything around the world these days through social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, everything. We know what's going on in a different country that we didn't even know that country existed before. But we know now their political climate, we know now what the problems are, and then all of a sudden they're our problems, but they're not directly affecting us. But then we make them affect us mentally. And I think that's why these things were put in place. And I think it's interesting because it's like you say, when you ask those critical questions which make people think, why do you believe in these things? They start and realize that, oh, wait, this is all just essentially it's just rubbish. Like it's meaningless because my life is dictated by how I want to be, not how someone's telling me I should be. And when you wake the people up to that, it's like you say, if you ask these people where you are, and which I'm sure you do and have, I bet you see it in their eyes. They're just it's like they've been living a lie almost. And yeah, it's very interesting the power that can have on a younger mind and the separation it brings. But with people like you, people like myself, asking these questions and giving an insight into why do you believe what you believe? Why do you say what you say? Why do you align with what you align with? I think that's when it opens up conversation to look at it a different way. I don't know.
You know, I always believe that questions echo louder in the soul. Because if you're just trying to cram in like your information, your this and that, then like it's harder for a person to learn. But if you ask them a question, they're gonna ask themselves that question. It's gonna echo, and even if that question don't hit them now, it's gonna hit them in a few hours and be like, "Wow, what does that mean?" And it's gonna start digging, man. And that curiosity is gonna happen, and that's why it's so important to ask the youth questions, like, and just ask them, like, act as an empty vessel and just ask them a question. Be like, why do you do this? Why do you do that? You ever thought of this? That's why the youth, what I try to do is try to make them think that they're role models. Like, don't you have a little brother? Don't you have, oh, aren't you your mother? Aren't you this? So, because that's what happened to me. What made me mature was that I was like, wow, one day I'm gonna be the father of my sons. I'm gonna be the father of my daughters. I'm gonna be the husband to my wife. And they're gonna need somebody that's emotionally strong, mentally strong, physically strong. And I was like, wow. And it changed my whole perspective, man. So that's what made me mature and like take on the role of like a man. What made you like
Mm.
take on the
It's
role?
very mature from your age. That's crazy. Your age, that's a very. There's not a lot of people who are like your age and younger who have come to that conclusion about like, God, one day I'm gonna be a husband. I'm gonna have these children I've got to protect. I've got this wife I've got to provide for and look out for. It's a massive thing, and it's interesting because that's what they're trying to get rid of. These are
Mm,
the values they're trying to remove, like get away from the family tradition. That's something I actually wrote down as well, family tradition. And then like the nuclear family, you know what that is? The man, the woman, the children, the boy. Well, they say boy and girl, but obviously just children. But I find it very interesting because that's what they take away slowly through TV shows, film, media influence.
mm-hmm.
What what are they replacing it with? This is what I'm always curious with because what comes next then? If you make everyone like if you make say the men weak, you make them everyone near enough asexual so people don't want to procreate, be with anyone else. What does that then bring? That's where my questions start to come in because that's what I ask the people who you would ask the same thing. Why do you resonate with this? Why do you align yourself with this? I ask those same people, okay, then, so if this is what's coming in, then what are we going to be bringing out of it? Like, what are we going to be producing from this then? What's the goal? Because there's always a goal. There's always a destination. It's just we're part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
But they have the destination in mind, whoever they are. But that's why I find it very interesting. But it's crazy that you came to that conclusion now, especially because with everything that's going on, there is a great awakening that where people are seeing through the smoke and mirrors. They're seeing through what they're being fed. But because of years and years and years of programming, it's hard to get out of it. I mean, you could probably speak to this. Have you ever spoke to anyone of the older generation and asked them some thought-provoking questions about different things what we're speaking about and how they react? Like, have you had an interaction like that, and what's that been like?
Oh yeah, man, all the time. Like me personally, I believe like the way I think, everybody thinks like that. I don't know why, but I just feel like everybody's so complex thinking, just because like I don't want to overthink myself and make myself simple because I don't like putting myself above others. But
Hmm. No, that's a good way to be.
when I do like, cause I had there was a founder of the university. I had a interview with her, And she was telling me that she's like, wow, you think so much. Like, she was just like saying that I think like higher than I do. Like, I think like I'm in my 50s, 60s or something.
Mm,
And I don't know why. Maybe because I was telling her, I was like, if you're talking and you're listening from others around you and you hear that voice in your head, so who's the one listening? Who really are you? And I told her, and I was like, there's something in us. Our soul is always listening, and we just let these thoughts ramble on, and it's feeding us and building us our character and our subconscious. But we don't never pay attention to that person. And I said, the more you put off that person, he's gonna come get you at night. Like he gonna come wake you up. You like once you close your eyes at night and you have no responsibilities, all your distractions are gone away. That voice is gonna start going, and that's why people can't sleep. That's why people can't,
mm.
you know. That's why like I'll always see people tired. I'm like, you can't sleep, right? You know, because at the and you have you ever wondered when a person is just like this, just staring off into space. I'm like, you thinking about something? What you thinking about? And like I do
Yeah,
this for them, and they're like, nothing, nothing. I'm like, bro, you thinking about something? So just these
it's
concepts, and
because they're not used to it. Yeah.
yeah, because me, I'm very real. I don't care. Like I came to like a conclusion that I'm not moving out of fear. Like I'm gonna say what I want to say, and but yeah, and coming back to that, yeah, she told me that I have a good mind, and then also at work, people always tell me that I'm very wise and stuff, like with customers, because I work at fast food, and I was just telling them because a customer came in, and I was like, "How's your day, sir?" And he said, "Oh, it's going great, man." And he was like, "Oh, I came. You look like 1950 because I have In and Out, and I look all shaved. And how are you, sir? What can I get for you, man? What would you like, a burger, cheeseburger?" So he was like, "Oh, you look like the Truman Show." And I was like, "That's a great movie. It changes your mind." And he was
Mm.
like, he looked at me. He was like in his 650s, 60s. He was like, "Have you watched The Matrix?" I said, "Yeah, we're in the Matrix right now. A lot of people are sleeping, but we gotta wake up." And then I was just telling him that I was like, the trick is to be an observer of your thoughts because most of these people, there's a conveyor belt of thoughts, and you just accept them. You just accept the good ones, and that's your identity, but not knowing where these thoughts come from. I said we must step out of this and we have to see them come collide. And we must choose the good ones and leave the bad ones behind and replace them. So
Mm.
he was like, wow, man, he's like, I never heard nobody talk about this. And he was like, wow, you're above your years, like 50 years. And I was like, honestly, I thought everybody thought like this. So, I mean, has anybody ever told you like that you think a little bit beyond?
See, I've always been very different anyway. I don't know where that comes from. I've always seen the world very different to what everyone else has seen it. So even being as a child, when someone says you got to go to school, you got to go to uni, then you got to get a job, I was always like, why?
Mm,
Says who? Like, is this the blueprint? Like, who came
mm,
up with this, you know? Like, who came up with the whole plan? And that's when I realized that, wait a minute, we're the masters of our own fate. We control this universe. And it's like you said then, perfectly said, observe. You have to observe your feelings, your emotions. Observe you. I was having a conversation with a friend who we talk like this a lot. And we were saying how this is just a vessel. We are essentially, and I know I keep saying game and referring it to that because I find it easiest that people will be able to relate to. But essentially, like the Matrix, people are plugged in. You're mindless. You go along, whatever you're fed, whatever you read, da 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 da. That's who you then become. That's your identity becomes formed off everything else, your environment.
mm-hmm,
And then, bam, one day you become conscious. And through no one knows what, I can't remember what my experience was when I became fully conscious. And when people listen to that, they might think, well, I'm conscious right now. But what I'm saying is like there's something that switches in your brain where you look at things very different. It's almost like seeing color for the first time. It's you can't explain it, but it happens because the same things you see and feel and interact with are different now. You have a different relationship with those things. But with what you said, be the observer. You have to, because these days there's a lot of offense. People take a lot of offense to things. And someone told me, very wise actually, said to me, and it's very true, offense is taken, not given. If
Mm,
someone is being rude to you, if someone is saying things, the worst thing they could ever say to you, that's just someone saying stuff. It's how you take it is then when it becomes what it is.
mm,
Anyone can say anything to anyone, and it's how the other person chooses to take it. And if I say, "Oh, look at that guy, he's nuts, he's just saying some crazy stuff, he's clearly going through some things," bam, I feel great, I can walk away from that, no problem. But we're
mm,
not taught that. We're taught that it is the outside, and that's where we lose the observer mentality and just that in itself, because we think, blame the outward world, blame those, in front of me. But even though I'm the one reacting, I'm the one that's feeling this because I'm not feeling what anyone else is feeling because that's impossible. I'm me. So only I can feel what I feel. And that's why I tell people when you wake up in the morning, splash your face with cold water, maybe meditate. I don't know if you meditate, but meditation is very good. But look at it like this. When you look in the mirror, you smile at yourself. What happens in the mirror? It smiles back because it's you. Whatever you do in that mirror, the same thing's happening back. Look at that like the world. So when you go out into the world, smile at the world, it'll smile back to you. You be horrible and hateful and be full of, we feel it, we feel it more now than ever. It's hard. It's hard to, we know the lesson, but it's hard to carry on with it. It's hard to, because I have those days where something will happen to me and I'm like, that's out there, that's them. But then because of what we're aware of, that conscious thought, the conscious observer, the knowing that this is bigger than what we are, you learn the lesson. Or not even learn the lesson, you recognize it as a lesson. Even if you get to that point of thinking, it becomes so much easier to just exist because
mm,
you realize that nothing is actual personal to you. Someone could say, like I said, the most horrible thing, but if you're just observing the way you feel, it's like you said, pick the good thing, pick the good outcome, pick the good choice, which is usually forgive them for what they're being like, because at the end of the day, they are going through something, not you. Excuse
mm.
me. And I think that's where that comes from for me on what you said anyway.
When was the first time that you realized that you were like, when, because you have to like split yourself from your feelings, your thoughts, and the way you feel. So when was the first time that you split
Mm.
yourself from that? You're like, why am I feeling like that? Why am I thinking like that? Like, when was the or reacting like that?
That's hard. I think I used to live in Ibiza. So I lived in the party capital of, well, wherever that was. I believe it's a Spanish island. Could be wrong with that one. I don't know.
Hmm.
They spoke Spanish anyway, so I'm pretty sure they did. But makes sense, doesn't it? But yeah, I used to live there, and I think I believe it was there because obviously, as you can imagine, I don't know if you know Ibiza or have heard of it or even been there, but it's known for a lot of things. And it is a place to party, but it's also a place where you almost lose yourself to find yourself, if that makes sense. I went there as someone, came back as someone else, just
Mm,
through experience. And for me, I won't tell anything about that experience, but just to relate it to what I'm speaking about, it's hard to say exactly when, but there was a point where I think it comes from this. I think for me, for what you're asking, when I separated, when I realized that I am not this experience, I
mm,
am observing this experience, is when I come close to death, like fairly close. I'm gonna be careful what I say. 'Cause I'm gonna show my mum this. But I think in that moment of everything happening, when I was at that point, I realized I made a choice to do something that I necessarily didn't want to do because I was under the influence of.
mm,
And then and what happened was when I came to, I realized I didn't make that decision. I didn't make that decision. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to be in this place, even though I did do things to put that into motion to me be there.
mm,
But I realized that, hang on a minute, this is something that almost needs to happen for me to even just be thinking these thoughts, to separate myself from the experience, separate myself from me doing what I'm doing. And I think for me, it would have been then, would have been in Ibiza when I realized that, wow, this is just things happening. And we do have a
Get caught up, brother.
that we feel or things that come to us. And I think for me, yeah, in Ibiza is where the pivotal change in my mind came, and I realized that, oh God, this is literally just like I always say, it's almost like a game. We're the player, the body's the player, the soul, the energy within us. That's what we are observing through this. And that's probably how best I can describe it and where for me it came from anyway. How about for you, for yourself?
Well, honestly, me is like the same thing. I was living my life for the pattern of the world. And it's until I gave my life to God that He unlocked everything for me. And like when you actually try, because like, well, how we started before recording, a lot of people just play church or just play with God. They don't take God serious. But once you start acknowledging that there's somebody bigger than you, and you realize that we're nothing without Him, and that we're just like our knowledge is so limited that
Mm,
like you have to humble yourself. Like I think He kind of took me out of it because I was going down the rabbit hole of the mushrooms, and like a lot of these things like partying, drinking, sex, alcohol, like it doesn't bring fulfillment. It always falls short to filling your heart, or your soul.
uh,
It always falls short. And I was going down that rabbit hole with girls, with partying, with drinking. Like I loved it. I would party 4 times a week. I loved it, man. And I was being two people at once. I was a nice guy, humble guy, in a nice guy, la 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 la. But at night, man, when a girl in my room, I would go crazy. I would turn into something else. Like a demon would come out. And then so I was in that experience and I remember I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm doing things good. I'm self-righteous. And I sat down and I was like, nah, I'm not good, man. Man, and I felt so bad, like, like I was just in my couch and I felt so bad, like I can't explain it. Like, you know how they say your sin? I was in my sin, I was done. Like, and then I remember I was in a war. It was insane. I was in a war with demons fighting God. And I was fighting him and I was the last one standing. And I was like, God, kill me, take me. And he said, no, I forgive you. And he hugged me and he grabbed me and he took me. And then when I was snapped out of it, I was like, whoa, God, you're real. Like, and like if something told me inside that was pulling me, it's like, read your Bible. And I started reading my Bible and like that made me so humble. Like it's insane. Like it took off my social mask. I was no longer living for the world. And then I was
mm,
doing the spirituality, the new age, the chakras and the third eye and stuff, which looking back was pretty funny. But now I don't believe that. But then yeah, and then until like last year, April, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop living for the world because I didn't want to let go of my lust, the women, and something always pulled at me. I was like with girls, and something was like, no, don't do that. Like God is watching right now. Like don't do that, man. And I would always feel so guilty, full of shame, until I actually gave God my life. Like God, I'm gonna start walking in your path, and everything, like my peace, like I actually have eternal peace. Like I can't explain it. Like my mind used to always race. Now it's just so calm like water. Be still like water. And it's giving me eternal
mm.
peace. And Yeah, like that's why I say God save me, Jesus save me, and I want everybody to have this peace because everybody's always fighting a battle or dragging inside, have turmoil, oh, responsibilities, but when you give your life to God, everything just calms down. The storm just calms down. So that's what made me like that happen. It's crazy.
That's interesting, you know. It's interesting as well because obviously a lot of like for me, we're both male, but like for us, that I know, when I was in my party phase, it's like you never want it to end. It's like this is life, like this is what it's gonna be like, and then there's nothing, like after that. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that very interesting your relationship, and especially that experience as well. Was that a sober experience then that you just spoke about? Was you sober experiencing that?
Nah, I was in psychedelics, man. Like I was deep, man. Like I was the point where I was just taking it every day and I was trying to search for the truth, search for the knowledge. Like, and that put me on the path to search for wisdom and knowledge, and I found
Mm.
it. And I haven't looked back.
Do you find the more you learn, the less you really know? The
Yeah.
more we learn, the more we know that we actually don't know nothing. Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to humble yourself. And Socrates says that. And you have to humble yourself, believe that you don't know anything. Because once you believe that you know, you cut yourself off and you can't learn no more.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
cut yourself off. It's you gotta be open to new ideas, but learn how to accept them and let them go.
yeah. Letting go, letting go. That's something I written down. Big thing, letting go and holding yourself accountable. These days, those two things we all seem to struggle with a lot. So, like what we spoke about before, how we are when we wake up to the universe, that's how it'll be to us. But holding ourselves accountable. And I think the reason why a lot of people, back to our first initial point, why a lot of people decide to identify with what they see on TV, their favorite celebrity, whatever, is because they don't want to face who they are, because they know that they won't like what they see. And it's like yourself, when you went through that.